Item number 4 is an ordinance amending Chapter 5 of the City Code entitled Animals to increase minimum fines for repeat roaming dog and bite offenders and to clarify language regarding sterilization requirements of owned animals found free of restraint.
All right. Mike, do we have a presentation?
We do, yes.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm Mike Shannon, Interim Director of Animal Care Services, and I'm going to go over our proposal to change City Code Chapter 5, which deals with our animals and our regulations. So, this really all started with a CCR that was submitted back in May. It was from Councilwoman Marina Alderete-Gavito in District 7, and it was really challenged us to look at our problem in San Antonio. We have a high number of roaming dogs that are causing issues, too many dog bites, and really just creating a problem. So a couple of things that the CCR asked us to look at, and I'll be talking about today, which includes increasing fines for repeat violators. We do have a number of residents and pet owners that not only violate the code, but over and over again, so that's a problem. We also want to increase sterilization of dogs, especially if they're found free of restraint. There's a state law that kind of allows that. Our city code has a stipulation that doesn't, so we want to match those to allow us to do more sterilizations. We also wanted to look at implementing a pseudonym program, whereas someone who may be a victim and or a witness of a dangerous or aggressive dog can start the process without the fear of giving their name so that there may be the neighbor down the street is angry at them and stuff. So this is how it all got started. We did present this to the Governance Committee back in June. We also went to the Public Safety Committee in October, and I presented the proposals I'm going to show you today, and they asked us to bring it here for approval. So first and foremost, we have a current city code that has a fine structure for violations of the animal code. It's $100 a minimum for first offense, and then it grows to $200 and $300 for subsequent offenses. We think it's appropriate to increase those fines for the repeat violators to $500 and $750. Again, these violations are if you let your dog roam free in the streets, that's causing many of these problems with a slew of other issues that could be, but we have to get people to pay more attention to this is a serious issue, and we think the increased fines will be that deterrent through an education campaign and telling them, hey, this is a serious problem in our community, and pet owners need to be responsible for the safety of our neighborhoods. There's also when your dog bites someone. That's a huge problem. You know this. This is not a secret. We have too many dog bites in the city. We have irresponsible pet owners that are not doing what they need to do. The same fine structure is in our current code. We're proposing to increase fines for failure to prevent bites. So if you don't reasonably do what you're supposed to do to prevent your dog biting a person, we believe the fines should be increased, and we're proposing to increase to $1,000 minimum and then $1,500 to $2,000. We really have to get the word out that this is serious and the pet owners need to be more responsible. So that's the increased fines that we're proposing through a code change. I want to talk about sterilization of dogs that we find at ACS that are free of restraint. So we get calls to pick up animals, and then we give them back to their owners either through our campus. We bring them back to our campus, and they're reclaimed on campus. Or we know that we find out that it's their dog down the street. We knock on their door. We give it back to the owner. The current code says I have to give you a sterilization order. I have to give you 30 days to get that done. And after 30 days, if you don't do it, we will cite you until you get it done. What I'll show you here in a few minutes that process is not that effective. There's a few things we're going to choose to do, and one of them is to change the code. There's this current city code, which just tells us I have to give it back. I have to give them 30 days. I can't sterilize before I give them the 30 days. So that's our current city code. So here's the process that we're doing now. And if you look at, in the last 3 years, we've issued thousands of sterilization orders. We've issued a lot more citations recently, but we're still not having the impact on residents, only getting about 12% last year of those sterilizations that should be done, that are required by code, they're not getting done. So what we're doing right now is not providing the results, and one of the things is we think changing the code and also our process will increase that. So as proposed in the CCR, we're going to amend parts of our code so that we can actually sterilize the free of restraint dog, the dog that we pick up, before I give it back to you. That's allowed by state law. We think our city code should be matched up to that. Here's the language. I just threw this up here. This is the technical language and the sections we will change, but that pretty much does what I just said. Before we give it back to you, it's our choice. We can, like state law says, and will sterilize the dog before you pick it up from our campus. So just to give you some numbers, and because we had to assess this, can we physically do that? Do we have the resources to do that? Are we set up to do that? Right now, that's just 2024 data. There was 7,000 pets that we found that we returned to owners through one of our processes. If you scroll down to the 2,400 number, that 2,400 number takes away animals that maybe medically are not eligible for sterilization, or maybe we ran into that animal not free of restraint, right? We picked it up some other way. Maybe the owner gave it to us or something. But in the field, we do about 1,800 last year and almost 600 from our campus. So what we are proposing with the code change is any dog that makes it back to our campus through our normal ACS process, before the owner comes and picks it up, we won't give that owner a 30-day, hey, you have 30 days to get it done. We will do it on our campus. We can absorb that. About 600 more sterilizations each year on campus with our current staffing. We'll monitor that. We told the Public Safety Committee we'll be back in May or June with how it's working, but we're going to do that. And now for the field return to owners, so my staff that's out in the field, we will still use sterilization orders. But we have to do a better job of not only issuing them, but following them up. We have to 100% of the time follow up on that. And that's our proposal. The question that we were asked at Public Safety, this is a question we asked ourselves, was why can't the officers just bring them back to our campus and do all the sterilizations at our campus? Well, that's not going to work. One, there would be a lot more back and forth from our officers in the field to our campus that would reduce our ability to get to 100% of our critical calls, which is our main initiative with the additional staff that you've all given us through the budget. Scheduling logistics, right? It's not that easy. So if we pick up an animal at 2 p.m., we don't know if that animal is ready for surgery. Did it eat? Did it not eat? There's time. We don't have the shelter capacity to have that overnight and watch that for 24 hours. It's very similar to if I need a surgery, what does the doctor tell me? Don't eat after midnight because I have to be prepped for surgery, right? And then, again, shelter capacity and disease control, bringing those animals back. But we do think this will make an improvement. A few other things that came out of the CCR, I just want to mention we're doing these and we'll be working on these, is we're already allowing the use of pseudonyms. That was an administrative change. We didn't need to change the code to that. So we have modified our process. If we run into someone who's a little fearful of using their name to start the dangerous dog investigation process, we've already started that. The challenge there is state law says, and through the court process, eventually if we get to court, I will have to give my name because you have to know who who's claiming that your dog is dangerous. But we think that'll help out. We also started a program. I went over this with our Public Safety Committee. We started a program. We didn't change the code. We just started looking at repeat bite cases. So we had over 380 properties that in the past 3 years had a bite plus another bite or other ACS violations. So we've already proactively started inspecting those. That program is ongoing. We've actually already proactively found 54, I think it was 54 violations without waiting for the 311 call to come in. So we're going to continue that. And then certainly we're going to work with our state legislative process, working with Sally and her team. They're doing a great job. We've already had a couple bills filed from Representative Campos and Senator Menendez this week to further allow affidavits from ACOs and not really need a witness to further protect witnesses, increase penalties for really major dog bite issues, and then we're even going to look at prohibiting dangerous dog owners from owning pets in our city if they have a repeated history of this. So those are things we'll be working on, and we'll keep you posted. So with that, that's the recommendation today, is to change the code. As I mentioned, we'll begin sterilization of those pets that make it back to our campus that were free of restraint as soon as this change happens, and then we'll certainly ensure the 100% follow-up on those sterilization agreements that we do still use. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the presentation, Mike. We do have a couple folks signed up to speak on item 4, so I'll take them now. We'll start with Alan Hepp. Mr. Hepp, you'll be followed by Michael Cusick.
Dear Mayor and City Council members, thank you for taking the time to work on this measure. I'm Alan Hepp. I'm the Board President of Animal Defense League. Animal Defense League partners with ACS to help adopt over 6,000 dogs and cats every year. We support responsible pet ownership and measures that the city enacts which further San Antonio's position toward increased responsible pet ownership we support by proxy. Specifically, the clarification of the language in Chapter 5 of this measure does so. Thank you, and thanks to the District 7 representative for spearheading this effort. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hepp. Michael Cusick. Michael Cusick. Okay, I'm going to turn the floor over to Councilmember Alderete Gavito if I can get a motion on the item.
Thank you, Mayor. I pushed for these changes.
Councilmember, let me
I
get
make a motion.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I make
Okay,
a
there's a
motion.
motion and a second for approval item 4. Councilmember Alderete Gavito.
Sorry, do I need to make the motion or we did? I make the motion for approval of this item. Okay, got it. So I pushed for these changes on behalf of the Najera and the De Los Santos family and everyone in our community who has suffered or died because of negligent dog owners. Back in March, the District 7 team and I held a public safety town hall, and we heard residents loud and clear. They want irresponsible dog owners to be held accountable. This is why we're increasing the fines on people whose dogs get out. And this is also why we have to get to the root of the problem. And the only way we can do that is to make sure dogs are spayed and neutered. So yes, any dog ACS picks up will get fixed. And if you don't want that, then don't let your dogs get out. It's that simple. And I'm also grateful that we found a way to add protection to residents who want to report a dangerous dog in their community. So in the past, they have feared retaliation, and today they can feel safe and confident that they're doing the right thing for their community. I want to thank the numerous people who helped make this happen. Mike, thank you so much for your leadership and all your efforts around this. I want to thank Andy and the City Attorney's Office. I also want to thank David McCary and the City Manager's Office. I also want to thank Senator Jose Menendez because he was truly helpful in helping our team think about this CCR. I also want to thank the mayor for his continued backing on this effort, and also my colleagues who have been supportive of this from the get-go. This was truly a collaborative effort between ACS, the City Attorney's Office, the City Manager's Office, and the community. Residents deserve to feel safe when walking down the street. They deserve to feel safe letting their kids play outside, and they deserve to see justice be served. Dog attacks have no place in our community. This change was long overdue, and it's time for the culture of dog ownership to change in San Antonio. On a lighter note, yesterday I just adopted Butter from Animal Care Services. Thanks. He was already giving me so many headaches this morning, but it's so fun. The girls and I are in love with him already, and I encourage all of us to adopt and not shop for dogs. With the Animal Defense League and others, all these nonprofits who are doing so much great work to make sure that our euthanasia rate stays low. So thank you so much for y'all's efforts. I look forward to having my colleagues' support on this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Alderete Gavito. Councilmember Viagran.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilwoman, for all your hard work. I'm so excited about these changes. I want to thank George Garcia, who serves on the ACS Advisory Board. He's a D3 resident that has always been just advocating that we work really hard on addressing our issues and the fact that we have a lot of roaming and on dogs that are dumped on the south side. I want to thank Emily Casso for her proactive work in the field with rescues and her spay and neuter initiatives. I want to thank all the residents in District 3 who have a dog that comes up to their home and they decide to take care of it and feed it, and that we get the message out there that now it's yours and let's go ahead and get them fixed. So we want to make sure that we are understanding the crisis we have with the stray dogs, with the bites, with pet owners that need to be informed. And I think this is a great step as we move forward. The one thing I did have in terms of questions, Mike, for you is regarding municipal court's role, and are we putting forward, are they working on a repeat offender kind of list, getting that out to communities and neighborhoods where we're kind of seeing that once they know that they've seen somebody? Like, how can we communicate better with the judges over in municipal court?
Sure, and I would say we're already doing that, Councilwoman. I did just present to the Animal Care Advisory Board, and George is great, and I know we have a couple of our members here today, Rita and Karen, and they're great. But I did actually talk to them about what our municipal court, the judge, Fred, are doing over there. They've given us more capacity to hear more of these cases because our citations are up, but also identifying those repeat violators, because the judge eventually has the ruling. They hear the case, they make a ruling, and they set the fine based on not only the code but the facts of the case. But the idea of the repeat violators, they know that this is a serious issue, and being more strict to them. So we will continue to do that. Certainly, if we need to put a list together of that data, we can. So I'll be happy to have that conversation with them.
Thank you. And the other thing I'd like to see us move forward with is really when we start talking about our home rehab repair, how we're helping the seniors and those that are getting fined and getting offenses, is maybe we look at how do we get them to make sure that their fence is secure? How do we get them into their kind of pet management classes, or get them with the right nonprofit that'll help them that this is the best thing for your pet in being an effective pet owner. So I look forward to that. Thank you for the work. Job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Viagran. Councilmember White.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to begin by thanking Councilwoman Aldrete Gavito for her work on this. She has truly been a champion of these much-needed changes, and so, Councilwoman, thank you very much for your work. Bottom line, this is a public safety issue. We've talked about it on our Public Safety Committee in numerous meetings that we've held, and we've seen what's happened just in the last year across our city with dangerous dogs being on the loose and the harm that they can cause. And so this was much needed change, and so I appreciate, again, the efforts of the Councilwoman, Mike, you as well. You were sort of thrown into a tough spot heading up your department over these past however many months it's been, and you've really handled that well, and I appreciate all of your efforts here too. One of my concerns here was regarding the sterilizations, and I guess there's no appeal process in place here if somebody's dog gets loose and is picked up by ACS. But again, I think the Councilwoman's point is well taken, that if we're going to get a handle on this problem, we need stricter enforcement, tougher measures, and I think the changes that we're going to make today are really good and are going to go a long way to doing what we need to do. I also congratulations on Butter, Councilwoman. I hope Butter is a great addition to your family, which I know will be. I want to give a plug for Animal Defense League. My office is starting to do a bunch of work with them and promoting their great work, and there are many dogs, cats, and other animals that are good-natured and would be a great addition to any home. So I would encourage anybody to, if you're looking for a pet, and there's a bunch of them out there that need forever homes, please go and visit the Animal Defense League. It's right there on Nacogdoches in District 10, and I know they would love you to come by and take a pet home. So again, Councilwoman, thanks for the work. Mike, thank you. These are much needed changes today. I'm pleased to see us moving forward. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember White. Councilmember Cabello-Haverda.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation, Mike, and of course, thank you to Councilwoman Aldana Gavito for bringing this really crucial solution forward for our community. I want to just take a moment to thank Mike for his work over at ACS. You had a really successful Dogtober event. How many animals were adopted that day? Almost 180. It was a really great event. And then the Vax and Microchip event that we had there at ACS in November, more than 400 dogs and cats were vaccinated and microchipped. And it was all possible because of ACS's willingness to partner with community organizations. So also thanks to Petco Love and Pet Shots for working with the city to make that event such a success. We've had a lot of conversations about changes to Chapter 5 and how the key to making it stronger is consistent enforcement. So I asked a lot of questions at Public Safety about that enforcement, and I think that we have a plan, a good plan going forward, and I do appreciate the Councilwoman's proactive approach in proposing this plan. Increasing fines, implementing the pseudonym affidavit, boosting spay and neuter efforts are all really important steps forward. And the new initiative for proactive inspections on repeat offenders is exactly what the people of San Antonio have been asking for. They're asking us to make our neighborhoods safer. And it's been a couple years now, but when we first started talking about animal care being a public safety issue, people really pushed back. But we all see now that it is clearly a public safety issue, and I think that this proposal addresses that. So thanks. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Cabello-Haverda. Councilmember Castillo.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilwoman Aldana Gavito, as well for your steadfast leadership in ensuring that we tackle this crisis that we see of irresponsible pet ownership all throughout the city of San Antonio. I'm extremely supportive of all these items put forth. As I've shared with the leadership before and with community members, the frustration that I've seen despite crisis and incident after incident, I continue to block walk in my neighborhood and see folks allow their pets to roam free of restraint. I understand sometimes you're getting the groceries going in and out quickly, but we all have a responsibility to ensure that we're keeping our community safe, and what that means is keeping our pets in our yards. So with that, I am eager to approve these items, and I'm extremely grateful for the leadership of Animal Care Service, and of course Karen Spear, our Animal Care Service board appointee, for always ensuring that my team and I are well briefed on the items that are being discussed at the board, and also giving us recommendations on things that we should be doing in the district. But ultimately, thank you, Animal Care Service, and Mr. McCary as well for y'all's leadership, and for Councilwoman for helping us tackle this crisis. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Castillo. Councilmember Pelaez.
Thank you, Mayor, and echoing all of the comments that were made on this dais, I want to emphasize that, Mike, your entire team, all the men and women out there, the vets, the vet techs, the people who are feeding the animals, our enforcement officers, none of this is your fault. None of it. You know, we keep hearing, oh, if only ACS did more, if only ACS did this and that. The reality is that there's only one person to blame for these tragedies, and that is the owner of the dog who is roaming the street, the owner of the dog that is unsterilized, the owner of the dog who bites. All of us have, when we get a dog, have a responsibility to that dog to make sure that that dog is safe and healthy, but we also have a responsibility to our neighbors. And it's the irresponsible dog owners in San Antonio who have brought us to this point of having to make these difficult decisions of increasing these fines and of forcing us to double down on our efforts to do what they refuse to do, which is take care of their dogs. And so I do think that it's very important that the message be spread loud and clear to everybody. And there's a lot of people in San Antonio who just don't speak English. And so for those, hay sanantonianos que nos siguen demostrando que no saben o no quieren ser responsables con sus perros, y son ustedes, esos vecinos irresponsables, que nos han traído a esta decisión, y hoy estamos poniéndole más dientes a las multas que se les cobrarán a esos amos de mascotas, y que se les quede absolutamente claro que vamos a aumentar nuestra vigilancia y con afán vamos a capturar esos perros sueltos y peligrosos. Y si es que decidimos, solamente si nosotros decidimos devolverle ese perro al dueño, primero el perro lo vamos a esterilizar. Y es lo que tenemos que hacer para mantener seguridad en nuestras vecindades. Y desafortunadamente esto es algo que nos han forzado a hacer. Y es triste porque tenemos muchas otras cosas que deberíamos de nos estar preocupando, pero desafortunadamente esto se ha convertido en una distracción y ahora es una emergencia y nos vamos a encargar de eliminar esa emergencia y esa falta de seguridad en las vecindades. Gracias.
Thank you, Councilmember Pelaez. Councilmember Rocha Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll start off by thanking Councilwoman Odette Gavito for bringing this forward. I appreciate your tireless efforts on this, and also to Rita Bradigam, who is my appointee to ICS, and she's chair, and I'm just always so proud of the work that you do, Rita, so thank you so much. If you all don't know, we've been doing this really cool program in D4, a pilot, and so I want to give a shout out also to one of our part-timers, Aaron Onofre, who gets up at crack of dawn to make sure that at 6 a.m. pets are being taken to ACS, and so thank you for the work. And so Mike Shannon, of course, the fixer. I feel like if they put you in any department, you're going to fix it. So I appreciate your hard work on this as well. I do have a couple of questions, and so Mike, can you remind me where the fees and fines go in this particular case? Do they go back to ACS or do they go back to the general fund?
They do not go to the ACS, that's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it would be great, and I think I had mentioned this a few months ago, but to maybe do like a responsible pet ownership boot camp, right? And so how we do that or how we figure out with maybe some of the fees, that might be something to consider. I also do think that some more advocacy at the schools, right, at the elementary schools in particular, and so things like that have worked since the 60s, like with the post office and zip codes and kids reminding their parents about things, right? And so anyway, so sorry, I'm nerding out there on the marketing thing, but so more emphasis on teaching children, right, at an early age. So anything that we can do there, I think maybe that's where some of that money can be, helping, right, coloring books or something, right? And so just to start them early and to start getting them thinking ahead. And then there is a chart that you had on there, and it clearly shows that an increase in the staffing in 2024 resulted in a good jump, right, to 69%. But the sterilization remained at 12%. So when it was 11%, 5%, then 12% again. Yep. So why do you think that happened?
Well, I think that we actually need to do more. I think by doing the sterilizations on our campus, that will automatically jump that number by about 20 or 30%. And then I think we need to stop with just one citation. If you don't do it after 30 days, we'll give you another 30 days, but then that fine will go higher. It'll be a repeat violation. And I think what will also happen is we're going to be opening up 2 new spay and neuter clinics. So part of our job will be not only to cite you for not doing it, but we're also going to try to help get you to one of our free and low-cost spay and neuter clinics if that's the issue. Because, I mean, as I've said before, I would rather get you to get the surgery done than give you a $500 or $750 ticket. Spend the money, get a free surgery or a $100 surgery, and get compliant, than do this. But I'm going to have both tools now. And I think by doing that we're going to see that number grow. And I think it was one of the questions that happened at public safety because we want to show the results improving over time. So I think if you give us another 6 months or so when we go back to public safety, I think you'll see that number automatically jump up. I mean, we'd love to be at 100%, but we want significant improvement, and I think some of these tools will do that.
I appreciate that. And in section 5-150 and 5-156 and 5-160, we're updating some language to either sterilize pets found free of restraint before being reclaimed or issue sterilization orders requesting the owner does it herself or himself within 30 days. If ACS, though, does the sterilization and then it's an owner surrender, who pays for that?
No, it's still... we do the sterilization. We still give the animal back to the owner.
Okay.
We have the ability to charge for that. A lot of times we don't, even when because right now we offer the service. I'm not required to do it, but we offer that service, and many times we do that for free because the goal is sterilization, not necessarily to make money, to collect that $75 that I think we charge for sterilization. So we can collect that money, but The goal is sterilization, right? We want to give the animal back, but it's sterilized. We want to teach them to keep it free of restraint, but we also want to make sure it doesn't have any litters to help increase that problem.
Got it. Thank you. I think I misunderstood there, so
Okay.
I appreciate the correction there. And then finally, on section 5-156, and Councilman Pelaez mentioned earlier, and I was happy that he said the men and women, or the women and men that work at ACS. In our ordinance, we still have may at the discretion of the director, his designee. And although we have a male director coming, we've had female directors before, and so whoever wrote up the ordinance, if they could fix it to not say his and maybe say their.
Sure, we have some time to fix that. I'll work with Andy on that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Rocha Garcia, Councilmember Kaur.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilwoman Aldana Gavito, for your work on this. I always love when we can really focus on an issue, and I know this has been something that you've been really focused on, and so, and then actually get results and solutions for all of our communities. So appreciate your work on that. And then obviously thank you, Mike, and the ACS team for your work on finding a solution, because a lot of times it is figuring out what is possible and how can we change and do things differently. Just a couple of things that I wanted to mention. Obviously, we'll support this item, but I do think we can't get complacent with the education and awareness campaign. I know some of my colleagues have already mentioned it, read some scripts, but I think what's really important is we make sure that we think about creatively how can we really educate the community, because until we change habits of people, will not actually be able to solve the solution or solve the problem that we are facing, which is pretty severe in our community. Any part of town that you go to, you will see this as a challenge, but there are some areas that is definitely more severe. So I think we need to make sure we are targeting our education awareness campaigns and then also having a variety of methods for communicating. You can't just do one social media post and call that an education awareness campaign. There's got to be a lot of different ways that we approach that. I know you guys have been thinking about it, but would like us, as we approach, now that we have a new program that we are going to be installing, thinking of other ways to really reach our community members. Thank you, Alan. I know you were here and came and spoke. Appreciate your work and your support with our back to school event and with the Vision Dogs organization as well. And then also, I would like for us to continue to consider other options to help our low-income and elderly residents. And we've talked about some solutions like fencing or how minor and major home rehab repair can also help address folks as loose dogs that are leaving because they don't have proper fencing or proper enclosures for their pets. So let's keep thinking about solutions to do even more, but this is a great start. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Kaur, Councilmember Courage.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I want to thank the ACS team and also Councilwoman for putting this together. I think these are adding additional opportunities for the city to provide the kind of enforcement that we need to provide. But at the same time, I think one of the big issues we all recognize is what people don't know and what they should know to be more responsible pet owners. And based on that, I wanted to ask Mike, how many, on average, in our department, how many animals are adopted every day?
Well, we did about 5,000 last year, so we're open 7 days a week, so we can just divide that. Don't make me do the math, but 10, 15, 20, depending on the day. Saturdays and Sundays a little bit more, but
Okay.
We did 50 on Black Fur Day. That was our big event. So.
Okay. Okay. And what does the city provide to the new pet owner when they accept the animal?
Well, we actually have the initial part of the process is a quick screening. We talk about, where do you live? Do you live in an apartment? Do you live in a home? Do you have a fence? Those type of things. Basic understanding of our law. We certainly give away the most, we let them adopt the most lovable animals on the planet from ACS. At low cost, it's fully vaccinated, it's already sterilized. And then we, like our holiday event, we're giving away dog beds and toys and stuff like that for the enrichment of the dog or cat. So it could be a number of things like that, but there's definitely a conversation about responsible pet ownership. Along with trying to make it a fun event for them and their family as they bring in this new family member.
I guess that was my question too when we say we want to educate them or let them know about their responsibilities? Do we give them like a pamphlet or something that have the city laws that they should understand?
Yeah, we give them some general information about our basic laws. We don't give them a copy of the code book, right? We just give them kind of some of the basics of what they need to know to stay in compliance with the law. I can certainly look at that with my team to see if there's a way, especially with the new rules that we're hopefully adopting today. We'll update those, and we'll continue to work on the campaigns, the educational awareness campaigns on responsible pet ownership. But absolutely, when you adopt an animal from us, we want you to know what the rules are, make it easy to comply, so that it's a successful addition to your team.
Okay, and what about our partners who come and pull animals from our shelter, and then they also put them out into the community? Do we require that they provide a list of the regulations that the city enforces?
We don't have a requirement for that. There's nothing in our laws or anything like that. But I will tell you, like ADL and SAPA and even Footbridge and God's Dog, those are our partners. We have a number of them. But they also do the same thing. They have an education component of adoption, making sure that it's a right fit for their family, and also knowing how to comply with the general rules. But I'll certainly work with my team to see if there's a way that we can, as we update the code today, get that information out to our partners as well. Because we absolutely want compliance rather than have to use these new tools, but we know there's going to have to be both.
Right, and I would just almost insist that any partner that pulls an animal from ACS is required to give the same information about their public responsibility to fulfill our laws and regulations and the liability that they face. And I know I'm not maybe the easiest learner. I have to hear things 2 or 3 times before they really sink in, and I realize that that's a long-term obligation. And so, giving somebody a piece of paper may not be all that we should obligate ourselves to, particularly if we're working with partners who are pulling animals and then putting them out into the community. Also, for example, we give warnings. Every time we give a warning, we should give them another copy of those laws and regulations that they're obliged to. And if somebody ends up with a fine and goes to municipal court, when that fine is settled, they should be given another copy of the regulations and the rules. And if it takes 2 or 3 times to give a family a copy of that before it really sinks in, I think the cost of the printing and the paper is well worth our effort to do that. So I want to just emphasize education, and of course we've talked about it in the schools as well. Sure. So I hope that will be a main focus so we can save people from having to pay those kinds of fines or getting those kinds of warnings because they understand. And if they understand and they realize they've got a problem in complying with these, they should be able to come back to the city and explain to us, explain to ACS, what their problem is trying to comply with these things and see if there can't be some kind of a program to help people comply better. So, I hope that those will be some additional features you think about. And I would say anyone who gets a document from ACS or any of our any of our partners, there should be some kind of a thing they sign off on. Even it just check off saying, I have received the regulations on being a responsible pet owner. So that when we do confront them later on, they can't say, well, I didn't know. Well, you signed this and said you received this. So, let's do as much as we can to reduce the problem that we're having by improving education on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Courage. Any further discussion on item number 4? All right. I also want to say thanks to our city staff, along with Councilmember Alderete Gavito, for their collaboration on this. I think this fills a significant gap that we know of and have known about for quite some time on irresponsible pet ownership and what we can do to better execute our spay and neuter program, which has been falling short of goals as of late. But this can be a great tool for us to get those numbers up in a productive manner. So. Thank you again. With that, there's a motion and a second for approval of item number 4. Please vote. Councilmember McKee Rodriguez.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, we'll go to item number 34.